I'm still obsessed with Lost in Space.
Yes.
And because this is what happens to me every year, because Netflix doesn't space these things out well enough. I want them to start kind of alternating. Like give me Stranger Things one year, and then give me Lost in Space another, and somehow stick a new Ozark in between. So my fix is fed, because now it happens every single time. Once I'm done with whatever the hot Netflix show is, I go, oh, look, there's a new season of The Flash up. I guess I'll binge my way through all 26 episodes of The Flash. And you know what? I enjoy those episodes, but I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Me too. Same thing. Me, The Flash, Supergirl.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I just sit there and I do it. And I have started actually admitting it to people, though.
Yeah.
I have a thing about Supergirl that's just completely insane.
I enjoy the love story.
It's the love story.
I enjoy Grant Gustin, and I think he's cool and she's cool, and I like the fact that Cisco gets to have powers now and all that stuff, and Killer Frost, she gets to be a thing. I'm into the characters, but in my heart of hearts,
that this is
it usually happens when what's his face shows up as Iceman, Leonard Snart.
Oh, Leonard Snart. Yeah.
He starts talking like, yeah. Whenever he shows up, that's when I become very aware of the fact that I'm ashamed.
This is just so terrible.
I'm filled with shame.
Oh well. What do you
Anyway, it's the same thing over and over. Just go back in time and shift to a new timeline, and we got a new season, and now that everything is all screwed up.
No, they cheat terribly.
It does. Like, why does the Speed Force have to have a prisoner? Can you explain that to me?
No.
Why?
No, you cannot be explained. They can't explain.
It doesn't make sense.
Ridiculous.
Speed Force needs to have somebody in it at all times. You know what? The Speed Force is a jerk, then. What is the Speed Force? That's a dick move. Okay. So, anyway... Got a lot of stuff this week. I feel like I'm already looking forward to the fall, to be honest. I'm looking at the movies coming out. I don't want to see anything like this.
Been tough.
Yeah.
Particularly if it's not a superhero movie or a Star Wars movie, then it was pretty tough for them too.
Yeah, interesting to see how Jurassic
whatever it is. Yeah.
See how that goes. It's funny too, because we were just driving the other day. And my wife, who you of course know very, very well, she's kind of given up on movies in many respects. Partly because when you have a kid, you don't get out as much, and I've got to do it for work. But she just doesn't even care about celebrities anymore. She sees the poster for Jurassic thing, and she goes, "Who are those people? I don't know who those people are. I don't know who those people are." I said, "Yeah, it's Chris Pratt. He's the Guardians of the Galaxy guy." She goes, "Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy guy. Who's the girl?" I go, "That's Ron Howard's daughter." She goes, "Oh, yeah, Dallas, whatever her name is." Kept on driving.
Yeah.
Did not impress her. I thought, man, I hope people aren't as jaded as my wife, because
I don't know. I think she might be the zeitgeist.
Yeah, she might be. Yeah. Oh yeah, Dallas, whatever.
Oh my God.
Anyway, all right. Got some stuff from Naxos. For you classical music fans, I'm going to knock it out real quickly here so we can get into the juicy stuff, because we got a lot of TV this week, a ton of TV. 4K, some great classic movie stuff, Twilight Time and Olive and Criterion. We're going to try to get through all of this because it's really, really a good batch this week. Adris Nelson and the Gewandhausorchester. Gewandhausorchester. I'm half German. I just don't understand these words. At a certain point, break it up, make it two words. From Leipzig, this is the orchestra in Leipzig, performing From the New World by Dvorák. All you got to know is Dvorak's New World. It's just absolutely beautiful. And this includes a lot of other stuff too. This is that's the Symphony Number 9, but they've also got the concert overture from Othello and Rusalska's Polonaise and a lot of other wonderful stuff. So this is a Blu-ray. And a Blu-ray audio, I should point out, Blu-ray audio, and it's wonderful. It sounds fantastic, and for fans, it's a great thing. Here we have a Blu-ray collection from Opus Arte. This is from the Royal Opera House, The Art of Marianela Nuñez. Unbelievable. She's one of the great ballerinas of all time, and she's absolutely extraordinary. It is like art in motion, which is the whole point of it. And this includes Don Quixote, Giselle, La Fille Malgardée, and Swan Lake. All of them in one box set. Absolutely tremendous. Just one of the greats of the Royal Ballet. You will not regret this if you're a ballet fan. If you are grooving on Mozart, then Opus Arte has also released a 3 Blu-ray set of Mozart operas: The Marriage of Figaro, Le Nozze di Figaro, Così fan tutte, and Die Entführung aus dem Serail. These are all great operas. They're legendary operas, all performed with the orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment and the Glyndebourne Chorus, and it's pretty great. So I'm not a huge opera fan, but I appreciate great opera when I see it. Last 3 titles here is Nijinsky, the Ballet by John Neumeier, and that's I suppose a really great ballet. It's a little bit of a modern ballet. This is on Blu-ray. It's not exactly my thing, but if as long as we're talking about ballet, if that strokes you well, then you'll enjoy it. Magic Moments of Music, Tosca, 1964, with Maria Callas, is absolutely breathtaking. This includes a whole lot of interviews and people who just sort of sing her praises throughout. There's nothing bad you can say about Callas. She was certainly a diva in every sense of the word, negative and positive, but ultimately one of the great talents of all time, and they all pay tribute to her, and this is just tremendous. This is basically telling the story of her return to the stage in 1964 at the late stages of her career. Many people thought her career had been finished, and she and Franco Zeffirelli, took her to the stage with, a new version of Tosca, and it's just, it was a legendary moment in music history.
Extraordinary production designs.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. And then lastly is Handels Arminio, which I was not overly familiar with. This was staged by Max Emanuel Chenchik for the Karlsruhe State Theater in Germany. This is from C major, and I was not familiar with this opera, but it is gorgeous music. It's quite impressive, as you would expect from Handel. So that is also on Blu-ray, and a lovely performance. So there it is. We're done with that. Tim, what do we have on the more populist vein this week?
We got ourselves a couple of new movies, including The Strangers Pray at Night, unrated.
Strangers Pray at Night.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, which includes
because the G-rated version just didn't do it for me.
Hey, look, you got 3 masked people running around with butcher knives and axes. I don't know how you make that movie, and it could, what the hell is the point? Anyways, one of the standard road trip movie. Family is out. They're going to this trailer home. They're going to be visiting. It's deserted. Nobody's there except for 3 masked strangers. Who come after them and come after them hard. Look, this is a pretty intense movie, and a lot of people like it. The director is the guy who directed that movie 47 Meters Down, shark movie back in the day. Yeah, which is actually a pretty little sort of suspense. Little suspense movie with not much at hand. The guy had a boat in water, and a pretend shark. So he did a good job. He does a good job with this business too. Bonus features include that alternate ending that I told you about, as well as the music video, director's cut of the music video, and a look at the inside of the making of the film on Blu-ray and DVD. Strangers Pray at Night, the unrated version.
Nice.
We've also got ourselves Sherlock Gnomes. Look, man,
what is wrong with them? Seriously.
What does this have going for it? A lot of neat music from Elton John and Bernie
What was the first one? There was the gnome something. The one that came before this, whatever it was. The previous gnome animated movie.
It's just these things, and whatever, people like these things. I find them perfectly insane and ludicrous, but nevertheless, folks like them. It does have that Elton John and Bernie Taupin on it. Blu-ray and DVD. Special features include the making of the film, which is kind of a neat thing, as well as music videos that feature Elton. Kind of neat there. I saw this film, The Spinning Man. Guy Pearce, Pierce Brosnan, and Minnie Driver. Ben, there was a time when if you made a movie with that cast, Guy Pearce, Pierce Brosnan, and Minnie Driver, you had yourself a major motion picture. This did get a theatrical release. But I don't know. You look, man, we're at a point now where that is just sort of like a an interesting little indie film. This one is about a guy played by Pierce Brosnan, who's a teacher and who may or may not have had an affair with a student. There's a mystery about a young lady who has gone missing. He may or may not be involved in that young lady who's gone missing. He's married to Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver is wondering if, in fact, her husband might have something to do with this young woman who's missing, because he did, in fact, do something untoward at his previous job, and he has a daughter, and she doesn't know what to believe about her father. And in that way, it's sort of an intense movie. But, today, this kind of movie is really like a HBO movie. As opposed to like a big theatrically released movie, even with a cast like this. Nevertheless, it's a pretty good movie. I'll give it that. Special features include deleted scenes and a documentary inside the spinning man and a director's commentary, which is interesting. And I'll also give it this. Pierce Brosnan, Guy Pearce, and Minnie Driver are all still excellent, excellent actors.
And we've got 4K this week. Couple of new ones, couple of old ones. One of the new ones is Love, Simon, which got a little bit of attention earlier in the year, for as long as things get attention anymore. Seriously, I wouldn't have. This is basically a John Hughes film if John Hughes had made a film about a gay teenager coming of age.
Yeah, I was on the show for that one, and we talked about it. And it was a little bit of a strange talk because it was in this day and age.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
Look, Simon, you're looking kind of gay. And, me and Mom and everybody, we're cool. We don't know. But you seem kind of gay. But if you're thinking it's a problem, it's not. Yeah. That's the day and age that we live in. Yet in this movie, everybody's having trouble trying to figure out what the message is.
Inventing the drama to some degree. But I think it's perfectly fine. It's from the people. Yeah, the people who did Fault in Our Stars. It's not on the same level as that. But it's got some good performances. Nick Robinson is really good. He's a very good actor and will only continue to get better. And then you've got some, good supporting roles from name people. Movies Anywhere on this as well. So it's, 4K regular Blu-ray and Movies Anywhere. And then we've also got a movie I cannot conceivably recommend in any format. Not in 4K, not in Blu-ray, not on Ultra HD, not on 16 millimeter, not even if get this movie out of your head. Yeah. If there's a thought about this movie in your head, get rid of it. I am, of course, talking about Dirty Grandpa with Robert De Niro and Zac Efron. Clearly, somebody thought, I know, I've got a great idea. So Dirty Santa was Bad Santa was so funny. Let's just do a version of that, except it's not Santa, it's a grandpa, and we'll make it Robert De Niro, and we'll make him even more filthy and sex-obsessed and disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, people, let me explain something to you. Bad Santa does not work because it's about a disgusting, lecherous, horrible, irredeemable person. There's a different level to it.
Yes.
If all you're paying attention to is all the nastiness, you're missing the point of that film entirely.
Very, 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 very much.
Which they did. This is just a movie about...
this movie is actually about a dirty grandpa.
It's about a dirty grandpa.
It's about what the title is.
Zac Efron's a guy who's going to get married, and his grandpa concocts a road trip as a way of busting him out of this ill-advised marriage. And, Robert De Niro's dirty grandpa in this movie, as well-intentioned as they think he is just the most disgusting, vile human being I have ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
I kept hoping a serial killer would show up and just off him.
Yeah.
And I would root for the serial killer. A horrible, horrible movie. There is just nothing good about this. It's absolutely vile in every conceivable way. It's got Ultraviolet on it because it's Lionsgate. They're still with Ultraviolet, not with Movies Anywhere. Hopefully that ends sometime soon. But who cares? You shouldn't have this movie in your head anyway. The two classic movies.
Oh,
yes, right. The two one is a classic. The other we'll talk about. Forrest Gump on 4K. Thank you. Finally, Paramount. This is, of course, Ultraviolet and iTunes as well. The digital copy on here. Blu-ray and 4K. You know what? Forrest Gump, still one of the great movies of the 90s. This movie is so great, so original. I don't think Robert Zemeckis has ever been better. I don't think Tom Hanks has ever been better.
It's just brilliant.
It's just absolutely wonderful. I love this movie, and it took me a while to sort of get over it. Now, let me tell you something. I've never told this story to anybody publicly before. So I have a story about Forrest Gump. I saw Forrest Gump at an early preview screening when
Mm.
I was in my last year of film school.
This is Forrest Gump was what?
Let's see.
90?
Well, Forrest Gump. No, I was not in my last year of film school. I was well out of film school at that time. So let me
It's
think.
90,
What was?
I'm going to say it's 94.
It's 94. It was Best Picture of 94. I saw it.
Because you went to con that year.
Yes, I did. I saw it probably spring of 94.
Yeah.
So I was. How did I get into that screening? All I remember is I shouldn't have been in that screening now because I was actually writing reviews. They didn't want professional reviewers in there, and I somehow finagled my way in because when you answer the questionnaire, it says, "Do you work in the media business?" I think I lied and I answered no, so I'm a horrible person. But on top of that, I didn't know what to expect. When I was in film school, I had written a script, which was partly inspired by something Peter Guber said one day in his lecture class. I got early to my Peter Guber class. And he was trying to set up something with the projector, and the projectionist wasn't doing what he wanted. And if you know Peter Guber, he's very funny with the New York accent and the whole thing. He said, he's trying to flag the guy down. He goes, could somebody tell that third grade guy up there to get to pay attention? Look at me. And I laughed so hard because I thought, that third grade guy, that's funny. And I had a screenwriting class, and I said, I'm going to write a screenplay called The Third Grade Guy. So I did. I wrote a screenplay
I
about
remember this movie.
third grade guy about a guy he's kind of not quite all there, and he spends far too many years in the third grade. And it is about his life trying to win the girl that he loves. And over the course of that, he winds up in all of these far-flung adventures, including being in Vietnam and all kinds of other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching Forrest Gump several years later at this preview screening, and I'm realizing it's kind of the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's about a half an hour into the movie, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, oh, please don't let him go to Vietnam. Please, just give me that. And then he goes to Vietnam, and that's when I started to cry. But you know what? I love the movie.
Yeah.
My script was not that good.
And you knew you had a good idea.
True. But I'm glad that I didn't know about the book either. Who knew?
Winston Groom. Yeah, I remember that novel.
Anyway, wonderful to have this on 4K. Beautifully done. Paramount has spared no expense in making this right, and I don't often say that about certain Paramount 4Ks, but it includes a Wendy Feinerman, the producer. It includes her commentary with Zemeckis, Steve Starkey, and Rick Carter. Everybody, I don't know why Wendy Feinerman gets her own commentary. It's a little weird, but. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff on the third special features disc, featurettes and stuff on makeup and sound and effects and everything else. Those are both Blu-ray. Those are the two Blu-ray discs. And then, of course, the film itself on the 4K is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And that includes also the commentary with Starkey, Zemeckis, and Carter and Wendy Feinerman as well. That's all on the 4K. So, in any case, Forrest Gump on 4K is tremendous. Now, we also have a 4K and Blu-ray and digital, also ultraviolet and iTunes, of Terminator Genesis.
Yeah, a film that I think I was the only critic that actually enjoyed a little bit.
So, yeah, I kind of feel like I enjoy this. I mean, it brings Schwarzenegger back, and it's got its moments.
What I liked about it was that it was very meticulous in accounting for moments that had happened in at least the first Terminator and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So like the arrival of Kyle.
Yes.
They staged that arrival.
Yes.
Exactly as it's staged in 1984.
They
in
do.
The original. It's like, I mean, he falls.
Jai Courtney playing Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, he falls down and rolls the exact same way. If you go back and look at it, and these moments that he has, and when they have to insinuate these new moments into them, they just walk you right up to the original moment, through the original moment, and then they give you the new moment. And I appreciated that they were paying attention.
And watching this made me realize, I was like, oh yeah, Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
She was Sarah Connor in this. Like, I didn't know who she was at the time. I was like, oh, that girl.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, from Game of Thrones and from Solo.
From Solo, yeah.
So she's on fire. She's now, well, anyway, and Jason Clarke, of course, playing John Connor. Yeah, so I feel kind of okay about this. I don't like a couple of the places where it goes. I think there's some twists in here at the end that sort of betray the concept and go a little too far. But that said, It's okay. I'm kind of down with it. So, Tim likes it more than I do, but hey, it's part of the Terminator universe, and if you're on board, you're on board. So, Terminator Genesis on 4K, looking good.
Well, it's not as bad as that Jonathan Moss style film.
Oh my gosh!
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
The mess.
That one was
okay.
all over with that. But that's the one where Skynet becomes Skynet.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't. I
Yeah,
mean,
you gotta have it.
you got to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad.
Where are we going? We're going to the TV.
Let's do TV.
Some TV business. Well, first, Mary Higgins Clark. Mary Higgins Clark is one of the most successful mystery writers of our time. Literally sold hundreds of millions of books, written hundreds of novels, many of which have been adapted into, movies, television shows, various different things of that sort. We have here Mary Higgins Clark, 14-film collection based on the best-selling mystery novels of Mary Higgins Clark, the queen of suspense, as she is well known. So these films, many of which you will have seen over the years, two of which are rated R, most of which are rated PG-13. Interesting thing about many of these is that they go back a ways, so you can go all the way back to Where Are the Children, 1985, which starred Jill Clayburgh, Max Gale from Barney Miller, of course, and Bernard Hughes. On the other hand, you can pop yourself over to about, let's look at 2002, He Sees You When You're Sleeping, which had Erica Eleniak in it, who used to be on Baywatch, if you remember her.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why you remember her.
Yeah.
We haven't met before, Nicolette Sheridan. And as you bounce your way through these, you will see Allison Eastwood and Bo Swinson. You will see Andrew Jackson. You will see Natasha Kinski. You will see all kinds of names, Leslie Ann Down, Cynthia Gibb, that come at you from the past, and some modern names from the more recent adaptations of some of her films. So, 14 films from the brilliant novelist Mary Higgins Clark, almost all suspense thrillers of one sort or another, in this 14-film Mary Higgins Clark film collection.
And we also have from Acorn TV, Menace and Murder, a Linda LaPlante collection. Now, Linda LaPlante, of course, is the genius who gave us Prime Suspect. And this is an anthology of 3 different shows, all based on her writings, and they're all really good. This is great British mystery writing. It just is. A 7-episode series, Supply and Demand, starring Eamon Walker from Chicago Fire, is an undercover cop who's trying to, track down the worst people that you can possibly find. Very, very good. Then you've got Killer Net, which is a kind of a cyber mystery thing. About this student who's how do I even describe this without giving it away? Something happens in his cyber world and something happens in his real world, and they wind up being connected. And it's got some really rough edges to it. Paul Bettany is in this as well.
Yeah.
And then Mind Games, which is also really good. Fiona Shaw as a nun who becomes a profiler, which I thought was really, really interesting. And that also features Colin Salmon and Chiwetel Ejiofor. So a lot of great talent in this, some really, really good writing, and it is called Menace and Murder, a Linda LaPlante collection from Acorn TV.
Will and Grace, the revival. When they popped this thing back on the air, I was a little bit suspect.
I was too.
I knocked off 1 or 2 of them. Actually enjoyed it. Sort of, abandoned it after a while because once you've seen Will and Grace, you've seen Will and Grace. And frankly, I tell you, I'm so ridiculously shallow. I need my Will and Grace young and thin and pretty.
I know.
And Jack, I just do. So I just watched the other one instead when they're all young and gorgeous.
know.
What the hell would I want to? They're as old as me now. What the hell do I need that for?
That's how I felt about Here's Lucy.
Yes. What the hell do I need this for? That's insane. But that's just me because I'm petty. Eric McCormick, Deborah Messing, Megan Mullally, and Sean Hayes. And this show actually is funny. And they actually do a few bits in the show that are straight out of the Lucy show when Megan Mullally and Deborah Messing get caught in that shower. I mean, come on, that's straight out of the Lucy show. Bonus features include a gag reel and returning of the team and all that kind of stuff. It's fun, and given what happened with the reboot of the Roseanne show, I'll have to say this folks is the way you do it. Not the other way. Do it like this. The Invaders, the complete series, dude. I love this series so much. You and I have been on this run about these
That classic era, I mean, it harkens from the Twilight Zone era, from the Outer Limits era.
Well, a bit of a reference to the Invasion of the Body Snatchers film of the 1950s, of course.
But this is also part of, in many respects, the Fugitive and Run for Your Life,
David
and
Jensen.
and it's in that vein too. It's a great show.
You got a guy, he's an architect. He sees the UFO land. He's trying to convince people that the UFOs have invaded, aliens have invaded, and they're taking on the shape of humans. Look, this show lasted a minute. 43 original episodes. 43. That's a pretty good run.
It's a pretty good run.
I know people who have never heard of this series.
I know. That's why this is great that it's out. It's finally out.
Because it doesn't live on in reruns the way some of the other ones do. I wonder why, too. That's an interesting thing. Anyway, the complete series from CBS DVD, Invaders. 43 episodes, 12 discs.
So we got a couple from PBS here, but not documentaries. These are PBS Blu-rays of some really great British TV. Unforgotten, the complete second season. So the first season of Unforgotten blew everybody away. This was like one of the best cop shows that people had seen in the UK in a very long time, and it is pretty intense, and it's a gorgeous Blu-ray. It stars Nicola Walker and Sanjeev Bhaskar as a couple of inspectors who are trying to unravel a cold case that has all kinds of really puzzling pieces to it. And damn it, I don't know why the British are so good at their mysteries and their procedurals, but they are. And it throws some nasty, wicked curves at you that are just some of the. You would think you've seen it all if you've watched every episode of Law and Order and CSI, and you haven't. This just goes into a great place. And then to keep your classic on, I'm going to highly recommend Little Women. Yes, I get it. Louisa May Alcott's Little Women has been done a billion times, and everybody loves the Katharine Hepburn black and white film, and that's the one that everybody references. And of course, then there's the more recent one of about 20 years ago, and a billion versions that they've done on British TV. However, this is absolutely wonderful, and it doesn't replace the others. But it's a perfect, it's yet another interpretation of it, and it's really great. And it comes with a whole bunch of really awesome behind-the-scenes extras, one of which takes you to all the places where Louisa May Alcott actually wrote Little Women. And it's just lovely. And it's a wonderful, wonderful cast. It includes Emily Watson and Michael Gambon and Angela Lansbury. Are you kidding me? This kind of a thing would have been a feature film 70 years ago, or even 50 years ago, but today, with that cast, it's British television, and it's lovely, and it looks gorgeous on Blu-ray, wonderfully shot.
Wow. I have here The Last Ship, the complete fourth season. Always an interesting concept for a series. The Last Ship, a naval vessel goes up to the Arctic, I think it was. Maybe it was the Antarctic, but I think it was the Arctic to do some research. They're carrying a doctor with them. They're meant to come back. They sort of get stuck there. And while they're away, a pandemic engulfs the globe, killing most of the world's population, including most of the American government, including the president and vice president. And it becomes a sort of restart of humanity show to a certain extent within the context of a large naval vessel, which now becomes most of just a society, and how that's going to work. Because some people don't want to maintain the hierarchy of the military dynamic that they're engaged in, and obviously the captain of the ship and others understand that will be the only way for them to survive. It's a very interesting concept for a program. The complete fourth season here includes a documentary feature. Orange is the New Black season 5 stand up. Hey, look, what can we say about Orange is the New Black? There it is, right? A groundbreaking television series. It's really funny.
Yeah.
You take a concept like women in prison.
Yeah,
a concept that comes directly from our youth. In the 60s.
What was that British show with the really big scary?
What
was that? Cell Block.
The Women on Cell Block 8.
That's
or
it.
something
that
like
was
that.
It.
And you sort of worked your way through all of these series.
Oh my gosh, that was.
And they're really the same.
Yeah.
Yet, depending on what characters you insinuate into that show, you get a new series.
Yeah.
And in the modern American orange jumpsuit sort of a series with black and Latino and transvestite and old and young women sort of working their way in and out of that prison. It's fodder for an interesting universe that we don't always get to see and don't always know about it. And they made a really wonderful series out of it. And it's turned out several really sort of amazing stars. There's several young actors and actresses, transvestites, and people who've come out of that series and gone on to do some really interesting things, including one who's on The Handmaid's Tale right now. A gag reel, 72 hours in 6 months, stories from the season, and commentary tracks on season 5. Orange is the New Black.
So some kind of classic period stuff here for people that want to get into their suits of armor and their corsets. We have Maximilian and Marie de Bourgogne from Kino Lorber. This is a miniseries on Blu-ray, a 6-part miniseries, and this basically tells this is about intrigue during the Habsburgs. Now, the Habsburgs, nobody remembers the Habsburgs anymore. Everybody remembers, artists. Nobody remembers empires and politicians from the past. But this is a really interesting 15th century tale of court intrigue and political machinations, beautifully recreated in the the medieval period. Is just, it used to be that you couldn't do period on television in miniseries. It was too expensive.
Too expensive, yeah.
But now,
unless you were in Europe.
But for some reason now, even though there are more outlets and there's more product, people create their recreation of period.
Rome and
it's great.
It's the whole thing now.
So this is all really, just wonderful struggle for power, kind of in that vein of Elizabeth. If you remember Kate Blanchett in Elizabeth, it's a bit of a similar thing, except it's a little more moving parts to it. It's who's going to succeed whom, and Mary is the one who technically should assume the crown, and they want a man to assume the crown, and the Austrians could be just as diabolical as the French or the Germans or the British or anybody else, but we just don't hear about them as much. So this is
the Habsburg Empire. I mean, that's a family. The Habsburgs was a gigantic family, not unlike the Medici or any other great family. Rothschilds or all that.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff in this, and they really take their time to let it work. It's a terrific miniseries made just a couple of years ago. Maximilian and Marie de Bourgogne. It's really good. And then from Mill Creek, we have a couple of oldies, but fairly goodies. The Lady Musketeer from 2003 still kind of works. I didn't like this so much at the time, to be honest, but revisiting it, I'm kind of like, that's not so bad. Gerard Depardieu is not as overweight then as he is now, so that was nice to see him lose a little bit of weight going back in time. John Rhys Davies and Nastasha Kinski, a lot of other names show up in this. Michael York, of course, shows up to make the connection to the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, the old Lester film. So that's a nice little bit of connective tissue. But yeah, the Lady Musketeer, not bad. And then we also have from Mill Creek, Jack London's The Seawolf miniseries from 2009, which not a lot of people saw. This was a Canadian-produced miniseries, but very faithful to Jack London and quite nicely put together. Some wonderful ocean photography and a great performance by Sebastian Koch as the titular captain, who's just such a tyrant. He's just horrible, but he's great at the same time. Tim Roth in a supporting part. And Nev Campbell in a supporting part. And whatever happened to Nev Campbell?
She popped up in the anyway, good question. Whatever happened to Nev Campbell? The company's Rick and Morty season 3. Love me some Rick and Morty.
It's funny. Rick and Morty has become so famous now for just one thing, which is my man. That's now what this show is known for.
It's the dynamite of contemporary animation.
I find that I just posting that little snippet sometimes as a comment on Facebook is all I need.
They're right with you. Yeah. South Park had it for a while there. I liked it when that kid would go, Timmy! I used to sign my emails like that. Most people didn't get it. 10 episodes, special features, animatics for every episode, 13 commentary tracks with the creators. Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland. Look, I love Rick and Morty. I think it's really my favorite animation at the moment, and it's irreverent. It's about this crazy alcoholic grandfather and his 14-year-old grandson, who he drags around the universe in his dilapidated spaceship, getting drunk and messing with other cultures, and it's a lot of fun. It's very blue. Or it can be very blue.
Yeah.
But it's just about the funniest thing you've ever seen. And at the end of the day, it's kind of sharp, too. And that's the thing that I always like about Rick and Morty, a bit more than, say, the South Park or The Simpsons. It's just a little bit sharper in some ways in those shows, even though it will go left on you, that's for sure. I'm dying up here from the folks over at Showtime, executive produced by Jim Carrey. It's about the comedy scene in an imaginary comedy club that's probably the Comedy Store in L.A. in the 70s, being run by a woman who is not Mitzi Shore, but seems a whole lot like Mitzi Shore, played by Melissa Leo. Mitzi passed away not too terribly long ago. Knew her; she was a lovely lady. When I used to diddle around up at the Comedy Store every now and again, trying my hand at stand-up comedy, she was always very nice to me. One of the best new series of the year is what the Minneapolis Star Tribune said about this show. I liked it too. Went a little dark for me. They seem to be working a little hard to make it a little bit darker than I don't know. It seemed to me things were. Yeah, I mean, it was a sort of drug-filled, sex-fueled, sort of hairy and sweaty kind of time there in the late 70s, mid 70s, late 70s as we work our way up in through the years.
Yeah.
But a lot of those cats became really, really famous. Did well.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sitcoms and do all kinds of stuff. I'm dying up here. Season 1 from Showtime.
A couple more from Acorn. From the Acorn TV line is Series 3 of the Detectorists. And I got to tell you, this show just keeps getting funnier and funnier. I didn't love the first season like some people did. Second series was just riotously funny. This is even better than the previous two. So Andy and Lance, if you don't know this show, it's just a weird premise. Andy and Lance, played by Mackenzie Crook and Toby Jones, are a couple of guys who are certain that with their metal detectors, they're going to find gold. Now, forget about it. They're never going to find gold. They're never going to find anything other than a tin can and a piece of silverware or whatever. But it's really just an excuse to create a whole bunch of really odd, offbeat, weird characters and have them interact in the most bizarre way possible. And it's really funny. It's just a great collection of characters. Forget about the metal detecting. It's the MacGuffin here. They are really, really funny. Toby Jones especially just has never been better and is superbly funny. Rachel Sterling also very, very good. So that's there. As is East West 101 Series 2. This is an Acorn series. It takes place in Australia and deals primarily with Detective Zayn Malik, played by Don Hani. And the idea is that this is a detective in Australia who is Arab and Muslim, and in the post 9/11 world, that puts him into a very awkward position. And here he goes undercover, and what he does in his police work is not as interesting as what his psychology is with respect to the police work. It's a really sharp show, very well written, superbly well acted. East West 101 Series 2.
Jericho, the complete series I have here, which is really an interesting show. I didn't watch a whole lot of Jericho when it was on, but it was a show that had a whole lot of fans that people liked quite a lot. And it's an interesting sort of thing. As I look at this box, I see how many people really came through the show. I mean, a number,
amazing, right?
A number of really important people sort of worked their way through Jericho. A mushroom cloud. The show sort of begins when there's a mushroom cloud. Then we assume that everything is gone, and you have these people sort of traveling through the land. It's just it's Kansas and all across the Midwest. It's just an interesting show, kind of not unlike like The Postman or something like that, Kevin Costner's movie from the middle '90s, a sort of post quasi apocalyptic world. Season 1. The Building of Jericho, deleted scenes and audio commentaries. Season 2, The Rebuilding of Jericho, deleted scenes and audio commentaries. And there's a bonus disc with all kinds of good stuff on it, behind the scenes stuff, and 100 Reasons Why to Watch Jericho, and a table read, and all kinds of neat stuff there. The 36 disc collection, 135 episode, 10th anniversary edition of Ancient Aliens.
My goodness.
The original series that began on the History Channel. Bizarre did a series about aliens that don't exist, visiting places that they never visited, would appear on the History Channel. But that's where it came in.
There are more episodes here than aliens that have actually been sighted.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. It's funny. The tagline for the show was something like, if I can remember it, science and mythology and science and mythology are the same. They're not.
No, they're not.
No. That's a perfectly ludicrous sentence, but nevertheless, they wrote it down. Look, this is a very popular show. It's still on. 36 discs, 135 episodes, Ancient Aliens, 10th Anniversary Edition.
So the question is, when you saw Hugh Jackman playing P.T. Barnum, did you wonder, I wonder if he is going to be as good as Burt Lancaster was in the television movie Barnum from 1986? And the answer is, I don't know. All I know is this was a terrible movie. But it's out
And so
again.
was the other one.
And so is the other one. They're all terrible. P.T. Barnum was a jerk. And there's no way to tell his story in an entertaining way, really. But anyway, they did a TV version in 1986 with Burt Lancaster and the wonderful Hanna Scheigele from many, many fantastic German films, mostly by Rainer Fassbinder. But anyway, this was directed by Lee Phillips, who's done tons and tons of television back in 1986. And it's it is what it is. It's got flashbacks that make no sense, and it is don't see it.
Wow.
And then we also have Gunsmoke.
Oh yeah.
The 13th season, volume 1 and 2. So here's the thing. Gunsmoke ran for what, 25, 26 years?
Oh, yes.
We are now halfway through this after 10 years of releasing DVDs. You know what, Paramount? You should have just bit the bullet and said, here is every episode of Gunsmoke ever in one giant box set. Just, mortgage something or go onto a payment plan. But stop releasing each individual season in 2 volumes. This will take until I'm a senior citizen before this is finally out. No one cares anymore. Everyone who has nostalgic affection for this show is now suffering from gout.
Yeah.
I forget it. By the 13th season, I got to be honest, I don't know why this show it's kind of run its course.
1955 to 1975.
20 years.
About 13 or 14 in there, I spent at the knee of my mother watching Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
A little chunk there in the middle.
Once it gets into the 70s, it kind of loses steam.
Yeah. Well, because everybody's like,
It just loses its steam.
You can't buy that James Arnaz can slap leather with some 20-year-old.
No.
Because you're 67, you have arthritis. Cut it out.
Yeah. Well, there's still a few guest spots in here that are fun to see. But otherwise, it's running on fumes.
And Kitty gets a little long in the tooth there to be, running that whole house. Avatar: The Last Airbender complete series, which is an animated series that has nothing whatsoever to do with James Cameron's Avatars.
But everything to do with the live-action M. Night Shyamalan film, Last Airbender.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Unfortunate indeed. But this is a pretty neat series that a whole lot of folks actually like quite a lot. This has all kinds of special features with it, including the making of Avatar, a featurette, an uncut animatic, that's about the design of the series, and original uncut animatics from various different episodes here, audio commentary, and much, much more. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the complete animated series, and by the way, first time on Blu-ray.
Nice.
Yes. Trading Places. Can I do a couple of these, man?
By all means,
Do a
kick
couple of
in.
these Eddie Murphy movies.
Yeah.
35th anniversary. 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
Of Dan Aykroyd.
Don't say that again because I'll be really upset.
Of Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy's Trading Places. This is funny because this is when Dan Aykroyd was above the title and got the first lead over Eddie Murphy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there it was. Dan Aykroyd, he was a movie star first, but what are you going to do? A couple of Saturday Night Live boys with Jamie Lee Curtis just doing some of the sexiest stuff that any human being has ever done in a movie. And thank God and God bless you, and you made my childhood. Jamie Lee, you're the bomb, you still are. John Landis directed this movie, and he also had his hand in Coming to America, another Blu-ray release. Eddie Murphy's Coming to America 30th, believe it or not, 30th anniversary edition. Let me tell you something. Coming to America is still one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Great.
This is when Eddie Murphy first started doing his like multiple character thing.
Yeah.
And he just absolutely destroys all of these iconic characters.
Every single one. When he plays the old Jewish guy,
oh my
I
God.
swear I can't stand it. It's
with that
so
little
funny.
hat and the glasses and the mustache, and he gets it right.
Oh, he does it so beautifully.
Special features all over the place here, including several little videos and photo galleries. And so Coming to America and Trading Places, Eddie Murphy's best work.
Trading Places, really, really good. Still really good. So we got a bunch from Kino. Some really interesting stuff from Kino here. And all classics, all worth checking out. The 3 that are part of just the regular Kino classics line. Paul Verhoeven's Spetters. is the first one from 1980, which is one of the films that really kind of put Paul Verhoeven on the map.
Yeah,
There
gave
were a
him
number.
his American career.
Yeah, I mean, there's Soldier of Orange, and there's some other things that made people notice him. But Spetters really, this is a new 4K restoration. It's on Blu. All of these are on Blu-ray, and it's a really, it's just, this is hyper stylized, and it's just cool. I mean, it's a very different kind of a coming of age drama from anything else during that period, and there were a lot of coming of age period movies in that period. But it's about just these three guys in Rotterdam, and just kind of trying to just cope, and motorcycle racing, and a lot of other interesting sidebars to their lives and the way they interact, and it's really, really good. So this is what really kind of pushed him into the international realm, and got him all of his English language work. So Spetters is really, really worth checking out. Jack the Giant Killer from 1962, less worth checking out. It dates pretty poorly. This was this is one of those fantasy family films from the period that just doesn't kind of hold up anymore. But it has a certain kind of nostalgic glint to it. There are two cuts on here. There's the original cut, and then a re-envisioned musical version, neither of which really is better than the other, to be honest. There's an audio commentary by film historian Tim Lucas on the original cut. It's kitsch, is basically is what it is. But if you like kitsch, and if you like some of the people who are in it, Judy Meredith is particularly good. Thatcher, who plays the sorcerer Pendragon, is particularly good. Then you'll probably enjoy it. But it really it's strictly for nostalgia buffs. And then the other regular one from the Kino Classics line is Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars, part of the trilogy. This also has been 4K restored. There are some parts of it that I think they could have done a better job with, to be honest, but it's loaded up with extras, and that's the real reason to watch this. The outtakes, and there's a restored opening, the restored UA logo that hasn't been there for years, and tons and tons and tons of featurettes, everything you've ever wanted to know about the making of the film. There are audio commentaries. There's one with Tim Lucas. There's one with Christopher Frayling. There's an interview with Marianne Koch, who's an actor in the film. It's a fistful of dollars. How do you quibble with that?
Yeah, baby.
And then the last two Kinos is the Kino Classics release of Luther. Now, this warrants a little bit of explanation. The American Film Theater was this initiative that Eli Landau did. And Eli Landau was a producer who wanted to do a bunch of movies based on classic stage productions. And he did them over a number of years. And it's the American Film Theater collection. And they all came out previously on DVD in two giant box sets. And they are now releasing them individually as Blu-rays. Is it worth upgrade? If you own those original box sets and you're like, great, I gotta buy an individual Blu-ray for each one of these movies, I don't necessarily recommend it. The movies are still stage productions. They are barely made into movies. They still feel very much like filmed plays, but that's the point. Unless you really feel like you've got to get that extra resolution out of this, if you have an up-converting DVD player, you're going to be perfectly fine. This is, of course, the story of Martin Luther, starring Stacy Keach and Judi Dench, based on the John Osborne play. I studied Luther in college. I know a good deal about this. It is a very accurate and very faithful play, but again, it's not terribly cinematic. So, made in 1974, worth checking out. But if you already have it on DVD, I can't really recommend the Blu-ray as an upgrade. And then the last Kino title here is the amazing documentary Bombshell, the Hedy Lamarr story. If you're listening to this podcast and in any way streaming on your home network, tip your hat to Hedy Lamarr, because there would be no Wi-Fi without Hedy Lamarr.
Yep, Hedy.
She was not just a great actress.
Not just
she
beautiful.
was an inventor.
Yep.
And one of the most beautiful women ever in movies on top of that. This is a great documentary. Unbelievable documentary, all about an incredible life. One of the most amazing women who's ever lived. And truly one of the most beautiful women ever to act in movies, but she was also brilliant. And this is just such a beautiful tribute. It almost brings me to tears. This is from Zeitgeist and released by Kino Lorber. And, just God bless her. She was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That all certainly went far too long unrecognized.
Yep.
Far too long unrecognized.
Yep.
The Disney anniversary edition, the Walt Disney Signature Collection for Peter Pan.
Yep.
Blu-ray multi-screen situation, Blu-ray DVD digital code. You can watch it anywhere. What can I say? It's Peter Pan.
I know.
The great Hans Conried as the voice of Captain Hook. That's what I think about most when I think about this particular Peter Pan.
And here's the thing: that's the ride that you always have to wait on the longest at Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's just that ride is always so long because you can only get 2, maybe 3 people in each one of those freaking boats that fly through Neverland.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing about Peter Pan: if anybody who works at Disneyland, who has any kind of sway at Disneyland, is listening, let me tell you something. When those damn boats come around, that's a wonderful ride. It's a wonderful ride.
Yeah.
You launch, and they're the kids, and wonderful. Oh, hey, there we are. There's a volcano in Neverland. It's over. It's wonderful. And then you come around that bend at the end of that ride, and you hit the side of the track when you land so hard. I slip a disc every time.
Yeah.
Could somebody put some styrofoam up there?
Put up a bumper.
Just put a bumper up there. That ride hits so hard at the end, I cringe now. It is in this day and age. Find some technology, fix that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This
has all kinds of bonus extras on it. What can I say? It's Peter Pan. Just get it because you should have it. Because you should have it. Because you should have it. That's why. Ninja 3: The Domination. Man, I remember this movie. These movies are. This is 1984. This is one of those Goebbels, Yoram Goebbels movies.
Oh yeah.
Liam Golan. They would make all these ninja movies.
The canon movies.
The canon movies. And
with
like
Lucinda Dickey.
Yeah, Lucinda Dickey. And this one, she's like this this aerobics instructor who gets infiltrated by like the spirit of like a angry ninja, and she goes around killing all that ninja's enemies.
Of course she does.
And her boyfriend is like,
naturally,
what are you up to, hon? It's like this. I'm a ninja, but nevertheless, she wears these absolutely gorgeous shorts in this thing, and she has this sword, and she's just killing ninjas. And what are you gonna do? That's just everything about that is
crazy.
Great. Everything about that. This is packed with all kinds of special features, including the 4K scan from the original film elements, interviews with Lucinda Dickey, interviews with Jordan Bennett, interviews with the producers and the stuntmen and all these other great stuff. So much fun. And then something that's ever so slightly more classic.
Yeah.
7 Brides for 7 Brothers. This is among the first musicals that I saw as a very young person. The film is 1954. I probably saw it in the, I would say, late 60s or something like that on television. That beautiful, beautiful color. Technicolor, just blowing me away off the screen. And you see this movie and the singing and the dancing, and they take these brides and they take them up the mountain, and then the snow's coming and closes off the mountain, and they got these 7 brides, you got these 7 brothers, and I'm loving this when I'm a kid, right? And now I'm thinking, oh well, this is like kidnapping and rape. This is but 1954. Anyway, they have to convince the girls to fall in love with him, and they do. A really beautiful film. Commentary track with the director Stanley Donen, whose class that he taught at UCLA. It wasn't actually a class; it was a lecture series that he taught on the weekend at UCLA, your alma mater. I used to run the projector in Stanley's class.
Oh, nice.
Yes, many years ago. Behind the scenes documentary and all the New York premiere, the 30th, just so much stuff.
Yeah.
Here on this Warner Brothers release. Jane Powell, Howard Keel, 2-disc special collection from the archive collection, 7 Brides for 7 Brothers.
We also have a box set of 10 Jerry Lewis movies. Now, Paramount has released these films previously, and this is a re-release. There's nothing unique to this. There are a lot of bloopers and deleted scenes and extras and stuff here, tons of stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here, but it's not new. It's on DVD. It's not Blu-ray. They need to release all this stuff on Blu-ray. So if you don't have this and you feel you don't want to wait for this stuff to all come out in Blu-ray in a complete box set, then I mean, some of these, like The Nutty Professor, is out in blue, but they need to come out with a proper all 10 film in Blu-ray box set.
Mm-hmm.
This includes The Stooge, Delicate Delinquent, Bellboy, Cinderfella, Errand Boy, Ladies' Man, Nutty Professor, Disorderly Orderly, The Patsy, and The Family Jewels. So with the exception of all of his Dean and Jerry stuff and like Hollywood or Bust and the exception of Who's Minding the Store, this is pretty much all the really, really great stuff. And it's great, but again, it should all be in blue. And then we also have The Great Silence from Film Movement Classics, a 50th anniversary restoration on Blu-ray. Great Silence is, of course, one of the fantastic Sergio Corbucci spaghetti westerns of the
Yes.
period. 1968, a legendary year for spaghetti westerns in particular.
Sergio was the original director anyway, of the Django
That's
series, if I'm
right.
not mistaken.
Yes, he was. And this stars Klaus Kinski, as crazy as he has ever been, even in any of his German films for Werner Herzog. He even played, the character's name is even Loco. They just figure it might as well just own it. He's out of his mind. He's so Klaus Kinski in this. Great score from Ennio Morricone, beautiful restoration, fantastic Blu-ray transfer, and tons of great feature. Wonderful snow photography, by the way, too. This is all in the snow, which you don't often get in spaghetti westerns. It's usually hot and deserty, and this is all snow, and it's so different in that respect. And you see a lot of influence on the Hateful Eight,
Yeah.
too, in this film. It's got a lot of Hateful Eight going on. So there's a tribute from Alex Cox, and there's a documentary from 1968 called Western Italian Style. Alternate endings. There's even an English language version and the Italian language version on this. So it's great. That's a Blu-ray of that. And then a Blu-ray from Flicker Alley of the 1923 classic silent film, The Ancient Law. Which is a German film made in, it's almost 2.5 hours long in 1923, which is pretty long for a silent film. But it's kind of an important movie. It's not really a Weimar film. It's not really like other German silent films, which is why it's so interesting. And it all takes place in a shtetl in Eastern Europe. So I mean, it's sort of only goes alongside Der Golem.
Yeah.
As a film that differentiates itself from mainstream German society, and which deals with very specifically Jewish European identity issues. It's quite interesting. So that I would say is well worth looking at, especially considering that this film has not been seen any time in our lifetime in its complete unrestored form. And this is it. This is the deal. This is the first time you're going to get to see The Ancient Law on Blu-ray from Flicker Alley.
Good stuff. You still in that? Or
Yeah, no, jump into it.
I'll knock off a couple of these just because I really love these three movies. First one, Odds Against Tomorrow, Harry Belafonte, Robert Ryan, and Shelley Winters in a Robert Wise film. Aside from the fact that Harry Belafonte is a very young man in this film noir, a very young black man in this film noir, and Ed Begley Sr. also in the film, it's a film that he was a producer on. That most people don't know. He was a young man, and he produced this film. It has a noir story going on in it, a caper. Ryan, an old war veteran who's incredibly racist. Ed Begley Sr. puts together a heist, and it involves the young Harry Belafonte and Ryan and Harry Belafonte. They're just at each other in this film like you would not believe from beginning to end. And it really leads up to an actual explosion. Shelley Winters also in the movie. This from 1959 doesn't have a whole lot of special features on it, which disappoints me a bit. But nevertheless, I will appreciate it. Blu-ray, Odds Against Tomorrow, directed by the great Robert Wise. Norman Lear didn't make a whole bunch of movies, but this 1971 film, it's really fantastic. Cold Turkey.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Great movie.
That's a great movie.
Dick Van Dyke, Bob Newhart, and Tom Poston, who, of course, would go on to work with Bob Newhart years later. Very, very funny film. It's about a tobacco company that offers to pay any town, any small town in America, $25 million if the entire town can quit smoking for 30 days. And Dick Van Dyke plays a reverend in the town, and they send a guy out there to try to undermine what's going on, and it's just the funniest thing. Think about that, 1971,
Amazing.
a movie about smoking at all. I mean,
Yeah.
think about thank you for not smoking, things like that. So a really, really neat concept. Norman Lear film. 1971. Check it out if you haven't seen it, and you probably haven't. And of course, Bucket of Blood.
Bucket of Blood. This is a DVD. It's not a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
We need this movie on Blu-ray. This has been on.
Yeah.
Look, this is maybe the best looking DVD, thanks to Olive. Olive did a good job, but we need a Blu-ray. We need a Blu-ray of the film.
Roger Corman's Cult Clash. You think it's because it's in black and white? because it's in black and white. And all
I mean,
it's more resolution, but all you got to do is up the contrast. You get
because
more
this was sort of central when we and Ray made Schlock, and
Yeah.
we interviewed Dick Miller. You were there that day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You were
yeah.
running audio,
For
I
Dick,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. Dick Miller, he's a great guy, and he's in all the Corman films from that period. But damn it, I want him on Blu-ray.
Yeah, Sam Arkoff and all the guys. So all of that on DVD.
And we also have a bunch of Twilight Time movies, which are all really, really terrific. The Twilight Time releases include, and this is nice. Twilight Time isn't just doing all the Woody Allen stuff. They're not just doing the Woody Allen catalog. They are doing the Mazursky catalog. And let me just say,
fantastic.
Next Stop Greenwich Village is a fantastic movie. Next Stop Greenwich Village is one of Paul Mazursky's very, very best. It's from 1976, right before he made An Unmarried Woman, and it's so many wonderful, wonderful performances in this thing. I truly love this movie. It just captures a moment in time, a place in time, a particular sensibility in New York. Wonderful performances here. Lois Smith and Christopher Walken and. It's a great cast. Ellen Green is so good in this too. It's just a wonderful, wonderful movie.
Didn't we give Paul an award?
Career Achievement Award.
Yeah, it was there that year.
Yeah, Ray and I nominated
That's
him.
right. Yeah, it was great.
He was great. D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation. This is probably the third or fourth release on DVD or Blu-ray. There are better transfers available on Blu-ray than this one. But this one is still quite good. This is the 2015 Photoplay restoration, overseen by Patrick Stanbury, which is very, very good. Again, I won't say it's the best. There are others, but it's still very, very good. If you don't own the film, you're not going to go wrong by getting this one. It has its own extras on a second disc, outtakes and camera tests, and all kinds of other behind-the-scenes things. Birth of a Nation score recording sessions by John Lanchberry. D.W. Griffith on the Lux Radio Theater with Cecil B. DeMille. Birth of a Nation is an essential film because it is so crucial from a historical standpoint, from an artistic standpoint, and yet thematically it is deeply offensive. It is vile in every respect because it's predicated on it not only sort of, it's the film that basically reignited the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, based on the book The Klansman. President Wilson at the time screened that film at the White House.
At the same time that he was resegregating the civil service.
The civil service, and which would eventually lead to Jim Crow and all of that. And he said that it hurt his heart. It was all just too true. Yeah. The thing about Birth of a Nation is very controversial in that way. What's necessary when you talk about Birth of a Nation is to talk about it completely and not simply talk about it as a cinematic achievement by D.W. Griffith. That's all true.
You're supposed to struggle with it.
Yeah. But you have to talk about it completely. You have to talk about it. And then after you talk about Birth of a Nation, you have to talk about intolerance, but it's not here today, so we'll talk about it
later. Birth of a Nation, it's important to look at it and go, I understand it was the first feature-length film. It's the first film that did this, that, and the other thing, and it's almost insufferable to watch today, despite all of that. But at the same time, you can't abide what it does and what the message is, and you're supposed to struggle with that because that's the point of art.
Content makes a difference, and that's what art is doing. That art had an impact on America anyway for the next until now. Black Klansman won the Audience Award at Cannes? At Spike's Audience Award,
and
directly connects back to Birth of a Nation.
And there is something poetic about the fact that Griffith was one of the founders of United Artists, and United Artists went on to be the studio behind the Rocky films. Yeah. From which we got Creed. Yeah. So,
the connections are amazing.
The connections are amazing. Geronimo, an American legend, just straight up biopic about Geronimo, starring Wes Studi, who, of course, was in Hostiles last year and awesome. This is a perfectly fine film. It's Walter Hill doing kind of mid-level Walter Hill. Really beautifully photographed, I have to say. Full disclosure, the cinematographer, Lloyd Ahern, is a very good friend. So I think he does amazing work here. Written with John Milius, Walter Hill co-wrote it, but he doesn't take a credit. It's Larry Gross and John Milius who get the writing credit. So it's got that macho Milius thing going. Yeah. Perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it is what it is.
Wes Studi still has the same face.
It's amazing, right? Just grayer hair.
Amazing and weird.
And Hilda Crane from 1956 is a great drama in the Peyton Place vein. Philip Dunn wrote and directed this. It stars Gene Simmons as a woman with a bit of a past who goes back from New York to her home in this small town, and her past catches up with her in some interesting and unpredictable ways. I have to say that Jean-Pierre Aumont, if you haven't seen this film, Jean-Pierre Aumont in this movie is basically the inspiration for Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it with that.
Yeah. I got a few really interesting classics over here from the Criterion folks, the good folks at Criterion, including Midnight Cowboy, John Schlesinger's 1969, at the time, I believe, rated X at the time, drama about Rizzo, Dustin Hoffman, of course, and Joe Buck, a itinerant a pimp from the South. This movie was just astounding. Dustin Hoffman, I mean, we talk about The Graduate being the movie that makes Dustin Hoffman's career, but I think this is the movie that sort of solidified him as a person who could act.
Yep.
In that sort of dynamic. A beautiful movie. This has just about everything on it you could imagine. Blu-ray, special features, 4K, digital restoration, of course, approved by the cinematographer. Just so much audio commentaries with everyone from Schlesinger to the producer Jerome Hellman, video essays, commentary tracks with photographer Michael Childers, on and on and on and on and on. Really, really great stuff. So from Criterion, doing what they do best, special Blu-ray edition of Midnight Cowboy.
Fantastic.
Robert Bresson. This profound masterpiece. I'll let you do that one, Wade.
Yeah. Au hasard, Balthazar. This is a Bresson film from 1966. Bresson, just
who literally wrote the book on filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like actually.
Yeah. And this is from a 4K digital restoration. Bresson made very religious films because he was a devout Catholic. So there's always a strain of that kind of very Catholic humanism running through his films, but this is one of his strongest films. It's maybe the one that's the most popular, I would almost say. This is follows a donkey named Balthazar, who goes from owner to owner in omnibus fashion, kind of like the Red Violin. And you learn something about humanity through each of those who come into possession of the donkey. It's really kind of incredible that he makes the donkey almost a surrogate for humans, and humans are a surrogate for animals in many respects. That turnaround is part of the great part of the movie. It's really a wonderful movie, and this is on Blu-ray, and it includes a 1966 French television program about the movie. With Bresson and, of all people, Jean-Luc Godard, and Louis Malle is there to basically make it normal. But it's really a great movie. Au hasard, Balthazar, finally on Blu-ray.
Diane Kruger and Fade in a fairly tragic story inspired by true events. A young woman's family is killed in a terrorist act, and she slips into a certain dark place as she tries to find out what happened to her family, who did it, and all that kind of stuff. The suspects are arrested. There's a trial,
and whether her husband was involved because she's married to a man of Turkish ancestry, which of course is a bit of a thing in Germany. The integration of Turkish people of Turkish ethnicity. And the last two we're going to talk about really quickly. Oh, Lucy is a Japanese film by Atsuko Hirayanagi, which is a little bit of an odd movie, presented here by Will Ferrell and Adam McKay for some strange reason. Josh Hartnett's the only American presence in this. This is about a woman, an older woman who played by Shinobu Terajima, who winds up falling in love with her much, much younger English language teacher in Japan, and then kind of following him to the United States, and there are other family entanglements, her sister, and all this other stuff. It's a well-intentioned film. It's just a little bit odd and doesn't really kind of go anywhere that you don't sort of see coming a mile away. But good acting, especially from Josh Hartnett, who seems to have kind of fallen off the radar entirely. And the last one is The Two of Us, a new 4K restoration of this amazing movie on its 50th anniversary. This is Claude Berry's directing debut, based on his childhood during World War II, when he was sent to the countryside, and the people he met, and the crusty, crunchy, lovable, bigoted characters that don't know that he's Jewish. And there's a real sweetness to this film. It's just an amazing directing debut. and it won the National Board Review, and it won the Berlin Film Festival in 1967 when it was made on its 50th anniversary. It is astonishing, and the best thing about this, Tim, I want you to read the first thing of the extras. The extras are amazing on this.
This features of the extras right here. Feature-length audio commentary, this part, by a guy we know, Wade Major.
Thank you.
Excellent work, sir.
This was a solo audio commentary. I couldn't read my own name.
I love that they put the entire thing on this box.
Yeah.
Film critic with NPR affiliate KPCC. I mean, they're cranking it out there.
Yes.
Excellent.
So this was a really fun commentary to do. I had to do it solo, which meant I couldn't lean on anybody else. You and I have done commentaries together.
Sure.
And it's great when you bounce, but when you're by yourself, you got to fill all the space, and there's no conversation, and I had to knock it out. So hopefully, those of you who listen to it, let me know what you think. Email us at gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com. That's the Blu-ray from Cohen Film Collection of The Two of Us, 4K restoration on the 50th anniversary. And if you have any other questions, any other concerns, email us, gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com, and go and check out the Facebook page, Cinegods, and visit the cinegods.com site. We're going to continue to put some work into that in the coming weeks, too. That's been just kind of a portal lately, but we've got some great ideas for it and some stories and fun things that are going to happen. So, with that, we will see you guys next week. For this week, we will see you guys next week.